Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today as we talk about engineering, product, and UX and Agile Trinity. So a little bit about me. My name's Justine Benoit. I'm a UX designer at Deloitte. Um, I am an immigrant. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I moved to the States when I was 18. I'm also a mom. I made a tiny human in collaboration with my husband. And then a little fun fact about me, before I was a UX designer, I used to work backstage at a couple Cirque du Soleil shows in Las Vegas as an automation technician. But enough about me. Today's journey is going to uh, talk about how we work as an agile team, as a cross functional agile team. So, we're going to begin by defining what an agile team is. And then next, we're going to elevate that definition and define what an empowered team is. And with that in place, we're going to establish and define clear roles and responsibilities among the cross functional teams. And finally, we're going to put all that together and explore that trinity in agile action. So we begin by defining what an agile team is. One of my favorite UX people in the industry, Laura Klein, she describes an agile team as a single cross-functional team that is working together, taking complete ownership of their area of the product in order to produce better outcomes for both the users and the business. And so let's explore really what agile teams are. One is that agile teams are cross-functional. When you say cross-functional, you have your functional team, you have your design team, you have your engineering team. They are working together collaboratively and closely and in partnership. They have an advantage over silo teams because they are communicating constantly. They are working together rather than in their separate little silos. And this allows them to move much faster and work more effectively. Next is that agile teams work autonomously. Autonomous teams are handed outcomes rather than simply being handed out some outputs. And so they are entrusted to drive decisions in order to accomplish those outcomes. And the next is agile teams iterate. So teams that are truly committed to agile methodologies iterate and work to improve their user experience and code base constantly. So at first, they might ship something that is not perfect, it's going to be flawed, but the team collectively understands that they are shipping something out, bringing something out there that so they can gather feedback, engage with the community, with the users, gather feedback and learn something from that, and then go back and lean in together to improve the product based on the things that they've learned. And you rinse and repeat. Finally, agile teams enable excellent communication. Teams that are clearly and constantly communicating have a higher chance and are more likely to address problems and identify solutions from the get-go because they are working in partnership. So from research to ideation, development, so on and so forth, everyone is involved in every step of the way. And that's what keeps the team ahead of the game. So now that we have an understanding of what an agile team is, let's elevate that. What is the definition of an empowered team? What is an empowered team? Marty Kagan, who is the author of Inspired and Empowered, two separate books, and he's also the product leader and founder of Silicon Valley Product Group. He's a great person to follow as well. But he describes an empowered team as one that's not just assigned problems to solve, but one that's entrusted to drive the solutions to these problems. So now let's talk about, what separates an empowered team from just a simple product, like agile product team. With a product team is just it's output driven and they're working to deliver features because they can. And so accountability is low because the team is operating in over a checklist of features rather than outcomes. And this is what separates an empowered team is that an empowered team is outcome driven and they're focused on problem solving. And therefore, accountability is high because a team collectively is responsible, not just for the outputs, so not just for the features and releases, but most importantly, for the outcomes. So, any KPIs, any metrics that you've established, what defines success in this product, that is what you're working towards together. And so we can summarize, and please remember this because I think it's really important, that empowered teams are entrusted to take ownership of their craft and work in partnership to develop solutions and deliver meaningful outcomes. So, knowing what an empowered team is and how that is an elevated version of an agile product team, let's establish and define what these clear roles and responsibilities are. One of my favorite quotes, and one of the quotes that I like to live by, is by that of Brene Brown, and that is clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And to me, what that means is complete transparency and providing each other a safe space, especially for difficult conversations. And this also means as an agile product team, you are constantly communicating and openly communicating. You allow each other a safe space to express your concerns, to share your ideas, and be able to feel safe and be able to um, disagree in a healthy way and support each other in providing alternatives when there are moments of misalignment or disconnect. But point being, communicate always clearly and honestly, be transparent with each other. So let's talk about what these clear roles and responsibilities are. So your product team, you have your functional team, your design team, and you have your engineering team. And by establishing clearly defined roles, this enables both the individual and collective accountability of the team for risk. So let's explore each individual role. So we'll begin with the functional lead. The functional lead, this is like your PM or your PO. Their role is to take lead on the product or the solution's viability. So that's do the solutions meet business requirements, and are they within scope of this release that we're working towards? And so their specialty is to help this team understand business goals and requirements. And they're responsible for leading the strategy in delivering viable solutions that deliver value to both the people and to the business. And they are accountable for business strategy, economics, prioritization, and risk management. Next, we go to the design lead. Your design lead Their role is to take lead on the desirability and usability of the product or solution. So, is are the solutions we're presenting, is it going to connect with our end users? Is it going to be effective in supporting the users in completing tasks that involves this product that we're working on? Their specialty is to bridge the gap between business goals and user needs. And the design lead is responsible in leading the creation of compelling and thoughtful solutions that deliver value to both the people and the business. Therefore, the designer is accountable for activities like UX research and interaction, service, and visual design. Finally, we go to our engineering lead. Our engineering lead is they lean in on their expertise to make sure that the product or the solution is feasible to deliver and reliably maintain. Their specialty is they ensure that we have the right technology tools and engineering talent to deliver and reliably maintain our solutions. They're responsible for leading the development and execution of solutions that deliver value to the people and the business. So they are accountable for the technical discovery during the discovery phase, engineering solutions, and the implementation and development of that product. So now that we know, we have a definition of what an agile team is, what an empowered team is, and what the roles and responsibilities are for each cross-functional team, let's see the Trinity in agile action. So we begin with the double diamond framework, which is a design thinking approach to agile product delivery. In the double diamond, you notice at the beginning during the discovery phase, there's a diverge, and then when you get to define, you converge, and you kind of as a unit go into develop and deliver. And what that looks like, we have the 4 phases here. You have your discover phase, where the goal is to develop an understanding of the problem space. So you have your functional team gathering business requirements and business input from through our stakeholder engagements and maybe some market research. You have your design team conducting user research to develop an understanding of the problem space through the user's perspective. And then you have your engineering team conducting their tech research to identify what technologies are available for the team to leverage in order to build our solutions. So you diverge, and then you get to define and you converge all those findings to define the problem based on information that was gathered during the discovery phase. So you have your functional team guiding and defining the scope for the release and to prioritize features and functionalities. You have the design team facilitating a story mapping workshop to define the end-to-end experience of the platform through the perspective of the end users. So this is both a story mapping and user journey mapping activity. And then you have your engineering team working to define the best tech stack to support the solutions that we are looking to develop for the product. So we've converged, and now we get to develop and deliver as a unit. When we get to the development stage, we work together to ideate and develop solutions. You have your functional team ensuring that the solutions meet business requirements and are within scope. And you have your design team ensuring that the solutions are developed with the end users in the forefront. And then you have the engineering team ensuring that the solutions are feasible to deliver and can be reliably maintained. And we're going to go through a couple activities later, or rather, walk through a couple moments where you can see this in practice, where the three teams, functional, design, engineering, can come together and align on decisions and a path forward. Then we get to the last stage, which is deliver. I say last, this is like more like a cycle, but when we get to the deliver phase, let's say of this release or this sprint or product increment, this is when we test and iterate on solutions. So you have your functional team uh, guiding everyone in prioritizing the refinement work streams identified during testing. You have your design team doing the usability test and iterating on those design solutions based on what we gathered from the usability test and based on what functional has provided us would be priority for that release. And then engineering would do their UAT, their QA/QC test, and iterate on implementation. So when they do their UAT, QA/QC, any bugs that were found there, we bring it back to the table. We work with functional. Hey, what's priority here? What's going to be high impact, low effort that we can deliver and to refine the product before we release. And then everything else that can be put in the backlog. So, as I said earlier, there are some moments where you could practice this as a team. And we're going to work through three of them. The first one is going to be a kickoff workshop or like a design kickoff or project kickoff. And this is cross-functional collaboration from the get-go, where you have your functional team or your functional lead ensuring that the team has a clear understanding of the business requirements and what's within scope. Then you have the design team ensuring that the team has a clear understanding of the user's needs within the context of the task they're performing using the feature or a capability that we're designing. And then finally, we have engineering, who is there to ensure that the team has a clear understanding of the technologies involved to support the capabilities. Another moment is where another moment for collaboration is during design reviews. And this is an opportunity for the cross-functional team to align on solutions and design decisions. So during a design review, you have your design team sharing let's say, just the latest design artifacts. And it's up for the design team to advocate for the user's perspective and ensures that the team keeps the users in the forefront of their minds while solving for the problem space. We have our functional leads that ensures that the design and engineering solutions meet both business requirements and are within scope of the scheduled release or the sprint. And then you have your engineering team that ensures that the design solutions proposed by the design team can be feasibly implemented and reliably maintained. And when you get into a situation where the design is a high LOE for implementation, but also is high impact to the business, then engineering and design will have to work together and offer each other alternative solutions to support each other's solutions. So going to that decision making, right? This is the third opportunity for the team to stay within alignment and collaborate and arrive in a unified decision and a path forward. These are guidelines for making design decisions in a cross-functional collaborative environment. So this little matrix here, we've used this in a few projects and it's worked really well, not just in capturing and tracking decisions, but it also shows kind of, we made this decision because X, Y, and Z. Like, it's not just that's not going to work. We're going to go with that. Like, this keeps everyone accountable and keeps everyone informed of the decisions we've made throughout that product's life cycle. So, some guidelines. And I've mentioned this earlier too. If the design has a high level of effort to implement and a high business value, then engineering and design have to collaborate and find alternative solutions. Then if the design has a high level of effort for implementation, but a low business value, then the team can consider de-scoping that feature, capability, or component in the solution. And then explore other ways, maybe either explore alternative solutions or deprioritize certain elements of the product. And then you capture it in this design decision matrix. And then, you can use this matrix to keep everyone accountable, keep everyone informed. Especially, this is great to show leadership and maybe your stakeholders, so you are able to provide justification for the direction that your team has decided to follow.
Thank you very much, Justine. It was a great kind of overview and diving deep into a couple of the areas around kind of how it actually operates. So thank you for sharing. If anybody has any questions, please do put them in either the chat box on uxdx.com or whichever social platform you're watching this on. But I'm going to start it off because this is one question that I always get confused about with the product team. Because as you mentioned, you have the functional lead, the design lead, the dev lead, and they're working at a kind of a user story mapping at a high level feature level. What happens then when you actually get down? Is it a different team are doing the nuts and bolts delivery? Or is it the same team? Is it the leads who are kind of then going and doing the design work and doing the dev work? Or how does that kind of relationship happen between the product team, as you're describing them, and the implementation?
Yeah, great question, Rory. What I like to encourage design, engineering, and functional leads is to lean in on your team, lean in on their strengths and expertise, and then have conversations with them as you're putting together these user stories. Right? We go with the clear is kind, unclear is unkind. So talking to your team, leaning in on their strengths and expertise. Hey, this is the outcome this is what we all understand and know is the outcome that we want to accomplish. Team, what are the things that we need to do in order to accomplish this outcome that we want to achieve? And so that is you as a lead leaning in and empowering your team members to drive the decisions, to drive the solutions of that problem.
Okay, so the teams are kind of getting involved and then feeding back up into the user story mapping and into those kind of planning sessions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And I guess one of the other questions I always get is, how do you build trust with your stakeholders? So it's great kind of saying, build some outcomes.
Yeah.
But the stakeholders are sitting there worried going, don't they know that we have to build something like this? What happens if they go completely left field and build something completely wrong?
Yeah. And that's a really great question. It can be a little bit of a precarious line, right? It's a precarious conversation to have because it's important that you maintain a strong and healthy relationship with your stakeholders, because they are the ones who have the power to support the decision, or, kind of ultimately, and unfortunately, as much as we all have our own vision, but at the end of the day, we still need the stakeholders to, in a way, be that vehicle to take us to the direction that we need to go. In terms of building trust with stakeholders, and I cannot emphasize this enough, it's important that you maintain a maintain transparency and communicate often with your stakeholders, even when it means having difficult conversations of like, hey, I think this, we've unfurled some risks following this, this solution or this technology. I think we need to start exploring alternatives. Unfortunately, this does mean, where our timeline's going to be affected, but just like having that conversation and continuing to be in alignment with your stakeholders when it comes to decision making. Now, you as your, let's say you're the project manager, like you're the person leading that project. It's your responsibility to advocate for your team. So, it's both ways, right? Like you have a lot of you need to have a lot of trust and empower your team to drive the direction and the decisions of the project. And then you also need to advocate for them when you're engaging with the stakeholders. And at the same time, you have to find that balance between this is what the stakeholders need. Like, how can we find a balance between what our team can deliver and deliver well, right? Like, what can the team deliver in order to meet the outcomes that that the stakeholder wants to achieve?
Great. So it's a lot about kind of, just keep that communication flowing, because you don't want any surprises.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, it's an uncomfortable situation to be in. Unless you're like really, but yeah, there are going to be moments where it's going to be uncomfortable, especially when when unpleasant things arise. When things go awry during your project, it's like, I don't know how to tell it. Like, you still have to. But everything is great, especially when they start to see let's say your product has shipped or launched and you're getting great results. That is great stuff to show to your stakeholders, to your client, and say, hey,
We're achieving these.
we're achieving these things. We are actually achieving the outcomes that we had established from the beginning. Like, it was a rough road, man, but we did it.
Great. Well, we're actually unfortunately out of time, so I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your case study, and thank you and I hope everybody out there enjoyed it as well.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Rory, for the opportunity.